Hey guys, it's Kevin again, and this is going to be my review for the original Season 1, Episode 17, Moon Over Bourbon Street. This episode for me, it was still a great episode, but I was not as into this episode as I've been the past few weeks. Probably because this episode was not as big as some of the other ones we've been getting. If you think about the past 3 episodes have been huge. They really have. The past 3 episodes that we've been getting have been huge, they've been amazing. And this one was just good. It wasn't like an amazing episode. However, I still thought it was a really good episode and there was some really great stuff in it. But it's probably one of the weaker ones of the season. I liked it, but there is some stuff in it that I thought was just, I don't know, it felt more like a calmer type of episode. It wasn't like a huge episode like the ones we've been getting. And that's partially because this is our first episode without Rebecca. So, you know, they're trying to find what happens next, you know, with the show, and it's going in a good direction, but it just was a smaller type of episode. But let's just get to it. So Klaus paints and muses. He paints the cathedral of Jackson Square, and Haley rubs her swollen belly while her wolf cousin looks on. Kieran takes a potion to try and stave off the impact of the hex, and Klaus and Genevieve get hot and heavy, but the other vampires and witches of the Crescent City are coming unhinged. One vampire feasts on civilians and cops. A witch torments other visitors. The wolves mix up the potion and wait for full moon to seek their cure. They watch the moon hoe behind the clouds and they stay human. Klaus then dresses and tells Genevieve he's at peace. And right away, Klaus and Genevieve, they just had sex. It really that was weird. That came out of nowhere. I don't know where they're going with that storyline, but Klaus and Genevieve, no. Just, no. Put Caroline on the show. Get Caroline and Klaus together, I'd be fine with that. You know, I don't want this Genevieve-Klaus thing. It's weird. Elijah comes in and he tells her he's had a monster in his bed and then kicks the redhead to the curb. Elijah reminds him that she tortured Rebecca and cost them their sister, and it's a month since Rebecca left. And Elijah tells him he needs to do something. And basically, he acts like it and quit, you know, he says if he wants to be the king of New Orleans, he needs to act like it and quit neglecting it. So Elijah tells him they need to make the city whole again and a fitting home for his daughter. Klaus says it's too broken and goes back to painting. Elijah tells him if he won't act, he will, and takes off. And Elijah gathers at Kieran's church and with supernatural representatives. He tears up Marcel's rules of the city and tells him he's in charge. Elijah tells him from now on, and disputes between factions will come to him for meditation, and he tells them to play nice or leave. So out in the swamp, the wolves brawl for pecking order. She basically, oh, that has to do with Davina's fault. We'll get to that. At the summit, though, it's broken down into screaming when Haley comes in, and she asks for their share. Diego bucks at her and tells them they deserve a seat at the table. She says they'll regret it if they don't get an invite. She and Elijah have a little stare-off over their demands. He speaks with her alone, tells her it was a huge effort to get the soups here, and told her since the wolves don't live in the quarter, they're not a part of it. She asks what she should tell the wolves, and he yells at her and tells her to stay out of it. He asks her to come back to the compound. She tells him the wolves deserve a voice and refuse the offer, and she tells him it's the right thing to do. Klaus paints and Genevieve tells him about Haley's appearance at the summit. She asks if he thinks the peace accord will work. Cammie comes in and tells Klaus she's disappointed to see him with a half-naked witch. Genevieve tells him that she was fully naked shortly, and Genevieve leaves, and Cammie asks how he can be with someone who wanted him tortured with the magic knife. She asks him how to intervene to stop Kieran's hex. So, pretty much everyone's telling Klaus, don't be with Genevieve. It's not gonna work out. You know, Genevieve tried to kill Rebecca. Why the hell are you betraying her? He tells her there's nothing he can do because once it sets in, it changes the fabric of the brain. He tells her to accept it and she tells him he knows nothing about family loyalty. So then, Kieran chains himself up, tells Cammie the sickness is taking over and that all he wants to do is kill all the soups. He says he couldn't help Sean and she can't help him. And he tells her they will ask her to take his place at the summit, and he tells her to leave town and not work with him. She refuses to go, and he yells at her and calls her stubborn. Then he starts to get angry and more violent. He tells her there's only blackness and death. He lunges for her and drags her back to him. She hits him with a lamp and makes her escape. That scene was honestly very intense. I like that scene. That was a nice, intense scene. Elijah has a drink at the bar. Francesca joins him and he tells her he knows who she is and knows she's a major drug trafficker. This is the problem with this episode for me. Way too many characters now in the show. Way too many minor witches, vampires, werewolves. Just way too many of it in the show. There was too much going on in this episode for me. It wasn't as good, I think, as the other episodes, and this is one of the reasons why. But Francesca tells him the mayor, police chief, and other parties, and they have given their blessing. They've given their blessing for her to join the council. She tells him working with her will keep other criminal elements from lashing out at them in painful ways, and she bids him goodnight, and she leaves. So Elijah tells Klaus he's sick of his indifference. Klaus tells him if he wants peace, he has to start with the werewolves, and tells him if the table they sit at is the obstacle, to remove it. Klaus reminds him when they worked with the governor back in the day and how he piled them with wine and women until they finally said yes. Elijah asks if he should throw a party, and Klaus, that's what they decide to do. They decide to throw a party. So they invite all the supernaturals, drinking and dancing. Klaus looks on and tells Elijah he's impressed, and Elijah says he just hopes they don't all kill each other. Kind of funny there. Haley comes in with Jackson. Ollie faces off with Diego, and Jackson get him to back down. And Francesca's there as well, and she flirts shamelessly and then tells him she's been schmoozing with all the soups and deserves some more champagne. He tells her she can represent the human faction until Kieran reciprocates, and she tells him they should make the most of their time together. But then Elijah sees Haley and is lost. Diego glares at the wolves. Elijah slides up and tells him to be polite. Diego tells him if the wolves killed his whole family, he'd be dead if Marcel hadn't turned him. Elijah tells him he gets it, but they have to have a peace. And Elijah goes to shake Jackson's hand, and she tells him that Haley dragged him along, or if Haley hadn't dragged him along, he wouldn't be there at all. Elijah says the other soups find the pack barbaric. Elijah threatens him and tells him to enjoy his evening, and then leaves. Genevieve approaches Klaus and asks if he's looking for Cammie. He asks if she's jealous, and she tells him Cammie's ordinary. He tells her not to give Cammie another thought, and he kisses her. And he sees Jackson head upstairs and leave Genevieve to follow the wolf, who is now in his studio. How do I feel about this whole Genevieve thing? Honestly, it's weird. It is. He reminds him that he was once a wolf. He offers him to make Jackson a hybrid, and he says he won't be turning into a bloodthirsty parasite. Klaus applauds his courage and tells him he can give him back New Orleans. So then what happens is Jackson asks if all is okay and says they were talking about the future of the city. He tells her Elijah should have been telling her how beautiful she looks tonight, and Elijah overhears and is annoyed. So then Cammie pours a drink and is startled when Marcel is suddenly in her kitchen. This is actually kind of funny. I laughed here. She offers him her drink, and he sees scrapes on her arms and is concerned. Well, not here, but like what happens after the scene. Kind of funny. He tells her that he arranged a boundary spell to keep Kieran in the attack so she'll be safe. She tells him he's the first person to help her in a month, and that Kieran is her only family. And she tells him without him, she'd be alone, and he tells her he's a little short on family now, too. And he tells her to let him know if anything he can help with. She tells him she's out of bourbon. So Ollie grabs a drink, and Diego offers to put it into a bowl. Francesca interrupts and tells them to fight over something worthwhile like her. Ollie sasses him. Diego attacks. The two go at each other. Elijah pulls them apart, slams Ollie into the table. And Haley actually tells Elijah to kill Ollie and asks who's stopping him. So Haley tells Elijah that Ollie deserves to die. She reminds him that Ollie handed Rebecca to the witches and Diego attacked the witches. She tells him that they all deserve to die, and she said that the families can't create community, they may as well kill each other. And Elijah actually releases Ollie and Jackson releases Diego. So Marcel and Cammie, this is actually kind of funny here. This is what I was talking about before. They come into her apartment. She's drunk at this point. He helps her up, and they actually end up having sex. I found this funny because who would have thought that Cammie and Marcel would have sex? And, she says the sex was worth it, but it can't happen again. She tells him Klaus would see it as a betrayal. He sees a dream catcher across the room with some bones in it, picks it up and leaves, looks at the object, and then stomps it on the ground. Now, here's the thing. If Genevieve and Klaus want to be together, then I'd say Cammie and Marcel, definitely. I think they have some chemistry, and I kind of like them together. So then Klaus stares at his painting of the city skyline night, and then paints it in a room. And Elijah offered the council a new set of rules. Haley is now at the table. They each cut their palms and agree to the treaty. Kieran sits in the attic praising the rosary and struggling while Cammie watches. And the wolves toast Haley for getting them on the council. And the council all sign the treaty in blood. And then we get a really interesting thing here. This I really liked. Ollie ends up telling Jackson that there's actually this cure now for werewolves that they have. You know, basically, if they make this deal with Klaus, but Jackson says there's more to it than that. You know, basically it would make them stronger when they're in human form. And he says their bite would be lethal to vampires, making dominate the humans, witches, and vampires. Kind of like how the Vampire Diaries said a cure for vampires, there's also a cure for werewolves, which I think is really cool. And probably, in my opinion, the highlight of the episode is what's going to happen with this cure. Are they actually going to take it? You know, I'm interested in seeing what's going to happen there. And then to end the episode, Elijah tells Klaus to sign the treaty, and he insists on it. And they end up making amends because Elijah tells him to go ahead and wager against him, but he'll lose. And he walks away, and Klaus says, "We'll see." And he stares at the bright full moon he's added to his painting. So it seemed like they were going to make amends, but they actually didn't. So the main plot for me was just okay. I thought it was good, but I didn't love it. What I really liked was actually Davina's subplot. I thought it was a very strong subplot, and I like where they're going with Davina's character. So let's just, basically Davina in this episode, what she's doing is she ends up meeting up with Josh, and he asks why she's there. He asks what's wrong. She says Monique has no idea what she went through when she was dead with the ancestors bullying her, and she says she shouldn't have trusted Marcel when he sent her back. Marcel eavesdrops from a nearby roof. Thierry joins him, and Marcel asks him to join up with him and bring the others along to challenge Klaus. What happens, though, with Davina is that Genevieve approaches Klaus. We already talked about Genevieve. Ollie approaches Davina, compliments her. She smiles and he asks her to dance. Monique steps in and blocks Davina. Davina walks away, and basically what happens with Davina is Ollie, you know, basically Josh hangs out with Davina. And I really like this one scene. You know, Josh is gay, so they're talking about his ex-boyfriend. And he says he got roses from his first boyfriend, but his parents took them away from him. He tells her he has no home or family anymore, and that he's okay with that for now. And he tells her, if your family doesn't like you the way you are, screw them. And he tells Davina she has him, and I thought there was a really cute scene between the two of them, because I really like Davina and Josh's friendship. I think it's very cute, and I definitely really enjoyed that scene. And she also has Cammie and Marcel if she wants. She reminds him Marcel used her, and he tells her that he also saved her from the people who tried to kill her. He says that even if she doesn't trust Marcel, he still loves her like he would, you know. And he hands her a dead rose and tells her she's a witch and can't change her DNA, and he tells her to embrace it. Because if you remember, she didn't really want to be a witch, but now he's telling her, screw it, be a witch. You know, I like that he kind of told her, screw it, be a witch. You know, you're a witch, that's who you are, be a witch. Don't let people tell you what you have to be, you know, basically. And she ends up whispering a spell with the flower, and it blooms back to life beautifully. I really like the way that was done. Really cute scene between the two of them. And to end the episode on a really high note, Davina stares at the roses. Monique comes in and sees that the workshop is full of hundreds of blossoms. So we're seeing that Davina's powers, again, very, very strong, but she definitely is controlling them, and I really liked her subplot, because it really showed us that Davina, you know, needs to accept that she is a witch, needs to accept that, and she needs to accept that that's what she's going to be, and she shouldn't try to change something about herself that's actually, you know, something that's really good for her, because not a lot of people can do what Davina can do, and she's a very strong character. This is why I love, one of the reasons why I love Davina's character is because of that. But overall, that was the episode, and it was an okay episode for me. I wasn't as into this episode as previous weeks. I am wondering what the one main highlight of this episode is, the werewolf thing. I'm wondering if they're going to take this cure, what's going to happen with it. You know, is it as strong as the vampire cure? What's going to happen there? Also, what's going to happen with Klaus and Genevieve? Is he going to continue to date her? I don't see any chemistry between the two of them right now. I don't even like them together. I don't think we're supposed to. Davina, what's going to happen with Davina? Is she actually going to work with Monique? Is Monique going to be good to her? I mean, Monique and Davina are both kind of the same. They're both teenage witches. However, Monique is evil. Davina is just a kind-hearted soul. Did you like Davina's plotline? I really liked it. Cammie and Marcel, do you think they might start something? I'm not really sure what's going to happen between the two of them. Are Klaus and Elijah going to make amends? You know, that's basically all there is to the episode. And it just felt like a bland episode for me. It wasn't bad. It was just kind of blah, you know? It was a good episode, but it was definitely not the strongest one. Since we've gotten 3 perfect episodes so far, this one really wasn't the best. But that's it for my review. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys for my next review, which will be my review for tonight's episode of Arrow. So, see you then. Bye.